So whether we use a traditional goal setting method or management by objective, we need to ensure that we have alignment in terms of the goals and strategies throughout the organization, and that the goals and strategies we have are measurable and achievable. So in our previous video, we were looking at how goals, right? We want them to be SMART. We want them to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and we want them to have, they want to be timely. And then we have strategies, which are more specific in terms of how we're going to accomplish those goals. So our goal might be to reduce our costs. The strategies are how we're going to do that. And when we come up with strategies, our strategies can be at that corporate level. Okay? So we're going to look at a more efficient supply chain. And that corporate strategy might be a growth strategy where we're looking at maybe we're going to take over part of our supply chain. We're going to buy the supplier or distributor. At the corporate level, we're trying to make that supply chain more efficient, lower cost, create growth. Within our strategic business unit, we're ultimately trying to be cost leaders, lower the prices for our customers with that more efficient supply chain. And then our functional strategies tied to that as well. So our marketing efforts are going to be on more timeliness and customization for our customers, because as we take over more of the supply chain, we are now able to more accurately predict when supply will be available. And because we now have information sharing throughout our supply chain, we're able to coordinate a timely response to make a more customized product. So you want it exactly a certain way, we can get that for you quickly. Maybe from the operations perspective, as we're looking at efficiency and cost reduction, we're looking at streamlining and relocating our administrative offices versus our manufacturing locations to help reduce that transport and costs. So there's alignment in terms of the goals and strategies in our organization. To help us with this, we can create what is called a strategy map. So a strategy map takes those mission, vision, and values we've created and starts to look at the overall goals that we have and looks at four different perspectives: the financial perspective, the customer perspective, the internal processes, that's our operations, and our learning and growth, that's our people and innovation. And so as we look at the different strategies that we have, they should all align. So you can see in this particular example here, there are some goals and strategies related to revenue growth, productivity growth. They want to have an increase in sales. They want to increase the number of company-owned vending machines. Well, that's going to tie to goals and strategies they have related to customer service and customer relations, because if they have more company-owned vending machines, then they can more quickly roll out different products. And here they say they want to roll out soda with natural sweeteners. They are also looking at productivity-related goals and strategies, reducing expenses. And so in terms of customer service and the customer experience, they're going to have more competitive prices and reduce the cost in terms of packaging. So the idea here is to take the strategies you're coming up with and look at how they tie together. Which strategies are more focused on the customer experience, which are more financial, which are more operations related, which are more in terms of personnel, organizational culture, and innovation, and then how do these strategies all map to each other? So we want to look at how the strategies for our organization all tie together. That's the point of the strategy map here. And then what we want to do is we want to take those strategies and we want to make sure that we are able to measure how effective we are at obtaining those and measure our progress. So when it comes to the strategy map, we want to make sure that our goals and strategies have connections, that we're not focusing on just one area of the organization or the experience. So all four perspectives are represented here, not just say operations. And we want to make sure there's a clean rationale, that they tie together. that we don't have too many different things we're trying to accomplish at once. So we want to really look at that alignment. And then once we have that information, we then want to take those same 4 perspectives and we want to create a balanced scorecard. So a balanced scorecard is a performance measurement tool that looks at these 4 areas, right? The financials, the customer experience, our operations or internal business processes, and then what is called learning and growth, which is really your people, your organizational culture, your innovation, and so on. So a balanced scorecard will take your strategies and put them into those 4 different perspectives. And then there may be certain dimensions that you have. So if we look back at our strategy map, you can see here on the financial goals, they have ones that are more revenue-based and ones that are more productivity-based. So those would then be the dimensions that we would have under finances. So then we would write out our strategy, and then we need a way to measure it. We need a key performance indicator. So a key performance indicator is how we're going to measure that particular strategy. And then we need a goal. So this is going to be a number that we're trying to accomplish. And our KPI to date is how we're doing so far. This will then give us our score. And then for each of the 4 perspectives, we could find the mean performance by averaging those numbers, those scores in that particular perspective. So really it's all about alignment. So for example, if we're looking at Red Deer College and our mission is to be the intellectual, economic, cultural, and social development of Central Alberta, being enriched by our presence. Okay, so we're contributing to the intellectual, economic, and social development. Alignment. So related to that, we have a goal that students will be able to access their programs with flexible options. So then a strategy, how we will achieve that goal, is you can complete the BBA entirely online. So goals are how you achieve your strategies. Now from there, you can keep narrowing it down to tactics. So how will you achieve your strategy? We could increase the number of online options. And then action plan, what are we going to do? What's our first steps? What we're looking at here in terms of the scorecard is how we can take our strategy of this online BBA and how can we measure our performance. So if we want to have the BBA be completely online, we could measure our performance, our key performance indicator, with the number of online courses. Our goal being all 40 courses, so 4 years, 10 courses each year. And let's say today 10 courses are online. We've achieved 25% of what we have set out as our goal. If we have multiple strategies, then the mean performance would be the average of those scores. So you can see here, for this organization, they have from the financial perspective, they might have a focus in terms of productivity to become the industry cost leader. We're going to measure that by the percentage reduction in cost per unit. The goal is to reduce costs by 20%. So far, we've reduced it by 10%. So our score is 50%. When you are setting out your KPI, they need to be things that are numbers. So percentage, count, and then our result to date needs to be something that where we can take result to date divided by goal and get our score. And we need a higher score to be better. So let's suppose that we have a goal of 0 defects. Okay. Then how do we measure that? Well, if we measured it in terms of number of defects, our goal would be 0 and our result to date would be 10. Well, the problem is 10 divided by 0 is undefined. But if we said, okay, well, maybe our goal is just to have 5 defects. Today we have 10. Well, the problem is 10 divided by 5 is 2. And that sounds like we're doing great, right? But we need it to be that a better score is better performance. So we might do, if we're looking at injuries on our work site, we do number of days without injury. We'd like to go 365. So far, we have gone 100. 100 divided by 365 gets us our score. If we can go 200 days without industry, 200 divided by 365 is an even better number, right? So a higher score is better. So we want to make sure as we set out that KPI, that it's set so that the KPI explains exactly what the goal number is. So it's a percentage, it's a count, and then it's set up so that the score, a higher number is better. We're trying to achieve that 100%. So you'll notice here, these are all percentages. They don't have to be for the KPI. You can see this one is number of online courses, but it needs to be so that it's something we can calculate our performance regarding. So the goal, the result to date are all numbers, so we can get a score and a mean performance. So this semester we've been working through an example in terms of Tim Hortons. So if you were to construct a strategy map for Tim Hortons, what would that look like? And then create the KPIs for the balanced scorecard. So what could Tim Hortons do in terms of financial goals? So perhaps they also are looking at reducing some of their expenses. What are their goals and strategies related to the customer experience? So maybe that's the time it takes to go through the drive-through. So something, or maybe it's in terms of quality. And then we have in terms of internal processes, maybe we're looking at reducing waste, or maybe there is other things we can do in terms of how long it takes to make something in terms of our operations. And then maybe in terms of employees, we're looking for reducing turnover. So less people are leaving our organization, they're staying longer. So maybe we're focusing on training, opportunities for promotion, and so on. Our strategy map would tie these together. So reducing expenses, well, if we can have less time in the drive-through, if we can have faster times in terms of making our Tim Hortons product, all three of those tie together. Okay. So we look at which of the strategies and goals we've created for Tim Hortons link. And then what we want to do is create a scorecard. So how are we going to measure this? How are we going to measure? Well, we could look at the average time in the drive-through. So one of the things that franchises like Tim Hortons and McDonald's have to report to corporate is how much time someone goes between when they place the order in the drive-through and when they get their final order. So this is allowing us to then measure how well they're doing. So key performance indicator is going to be average time in the drive-through. Maybe our goal is to get it down to 2 minutes a customer. Right now it is, if we look at it in terms of, okay, well, how much time is it currently taking? Well, we have a challenge here because if it's 5 minutes, 5 divided by 2 is a higher number. We want it so that our score is a percentage where the higher percentage is better. So we need to reframe our KPI so that the measurement is where we want to get closer and closer to the goal and the score gets better. Okay, so maybe we're focused then instead on reduction in the average time in the drive-through. So we would like to see the average reduction in time in the drive-through. We want it reduced to 2 minutes. And so far we've reduced it 30 seconds. So then 30 seconds divided by 2 minutes gives us our score. So we're framing the KPI so that a higher score is better. So we want to map our strategies to each other. We want to have a KPI for each of these, and we want it so that we can measure then our performance score for each strategy and then mean performance for the 4 different perspectives.